Welcome back to On Course Financial, the show that charts your path to a tax-smart retirement. I'm your host, Chris Brumlow, and today we're talking about something that changes every single year, but rarely gets the attention it deserves, your IRA contribution limits. The IRS released the numbers for 2026, and if you're still contributing based on last year's limits, you could be leaving real money on the table. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how much you can put away in 2026, whether you're under 50 or over 50, or running your own business. And that's what's genuinely new this year. Let's get on with it. So the headline is the IRA limits are up. Here's the big news. After sitting flat in 2025, the IRA contribution limit is going up for 2026. If you're under the age of 50, the limit rises from $7,000 to $7,500. If you're 50 or over, you get a catch-up contribution as well. And that catch-up amount has actually increased for the first time in several years. It's now $1,100, which brings you to a total of $8,000. That applies whether you're contributing to a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA or splitting between the two. The $7,500 or the $8,600 is a combined limits across all of your personal IRAs. And a quick note for younger savers or part-time workers, your contribution can never exceed your actual earned income for the year. So if you only earned $4,000 in taxable income, that's your ceiling, not the IRS limit. Now, let's zoom out because IRAs aren't the only things moving. 401k employee deferrals are increasing to $24,500 for 2026. And if you're 50 or older, the standard catch-up brings that total to $32,500. Now, here's something worth flagging for anyone in their early 60s, thanks to the Secure Act 2.0. There's a special enhanced catch-up for people ages 60 to 63. That's $11,250 instead of the standard catch-up, pushing your total possible 401k contributions to $35,750 for that age window. If you're in that range, it's genuinely a window worth using. Now, for business owners and self-employed clients, this matters even more. The SEP IRA limits rise to $72,000 for 2026. And the simple IRA limits go to $17,000 with an additional $4,000 of catch-up if you're 50 or older. If you're self-employed and haven't looked at whether a SEP or a solo 401k makes more sense for you in your situation, it's a good year to revisit that conversation. Now, here's what I see the most confusion every year. So let's slow down on this one. The contribution limit tells you how much you could put into a Roth IRA. But whether you're even allowed to contribute directly depends on your income. If your modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI, is what counts. So for 2026, single filers can make a full Roth contribution if your MAGI is under $153,000. Above that, you move into a phase-out range, and past a certain point, you're phased out entirely. If you're married, filing jointly, the full contribution threshold is under $242,000 with a similar phase out above that. If your income puts you above those thresholds, you're not necessarily out of options. That's usually where we start talking about a backdoor Roth strategy. But that's a conversation you need to have with your advisor, not something to do based on a podcast episode. One more thing worth mentioning while we're on this topic. Starting this year, there's a new wrinkle in how you catch-up contributions work inside your employer plans. If you're a higher earner, specifically if your prior year wages from that employer were roughly $150,000, your catch-up contributions to a 401k or similar plan now have to go in as Roth after-tax dollars rather than pre-tax dollars. That's a meaningful shift in retirement paycheck planning for a specific group of higher income savers. And it's worth a conversation with your tax preparer and your advisors if that applies to you. So, to recap, where we landed in 2026, the IRA limit is $7,500, or if you're over 50, $8,600. 401k limit, $24,500 or $32,000 $500 if you're 50 plus, and up to $35,750 if you're between 60 and 63. The SEP IRA is $72,000. The simple IRA is $17,000 plus a $4,000 catch-up. Roth eligibility phases out starting from $153,000 for single filers and $242,000 for joint filers. These numbers only help you if you actually use them. So if you haven't checked your contribution rate since the new year started, that's homework to take care of this week. If this episode was useful, share it with someone who is still contributing at last year's limits. And if you want help figuring out exactly where you stand and what you're eligible for, if what makes sense for your household and how it fits into a bigger tax smart retirement picture, that's exactly the kind of conversation that we have every day here at the BAB Group. Reach out and let's map it out together. Until next time, stay on course.